Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Great morning, folks. Great morning. Let's get this thing going. It's another Make Your Move Monday here in the flesh. All right, let's check all the platforms real quick. We there. All right, we're good. Facebook, good morning. Wait, let me make sure we get Facebook, good morning. Testing 1 2. Let's check all the. All right, good. We're good. Good over on Facebook. Let's check over on LinkedIn. For those of you who do not know, by the way, go live every single Monday through testing 2. Every Monday through Friday on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. See what we're talking about today. Yes. So we're going to do a deep dive in this in a second. Let me just check YouTube to make sure the sound is all good. And then we'll jump right into it. Test. 1 2 1 2 1 2 2. Test. 1 2. Sound is all good. All right, good. So we're good. We're good on all the platforms. We are all straight. All right. Good morning, folks. First and foremost, let me just introduce myself to anybody that may be new. My name is Aswan Crookshank, I'm your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time published author and educator. And what I do, what you see, what the whole Move Swift plus LY movement is all about is taking the lessons that the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a staff, a group of employees that moves as efficiently and as cohesive and as eager and as passionate, as dedicated to their work as a youth or high school championship football team. That's the environment that we create. That's the system that I've created that you can adopt and implement into your own business and your own staff. So you have that. And that's exactly what you want. That's exactly what you need. If you listened to me yesterday with Stay High, or the Sunday with my good friend Kimberly Blue, you know, this government ain't playing, man. This under this new regime of leadership is not messing around. Trump is not playing it. And I don't mean to just call him out because he's one person, but you know, when you see the way the government is moving and the kinds of things that he's putting around him, you better have your stuff together. You better have your ish ready to work, ready to move, and exactly how it is you want to make a difference in this world. You need to be clear and concise and know exactly what it is you're trying to get done, because this new regime of leadership, we'll say it just like this: the adults are back in office and the men are back to running the country. And I love it. I love every second of it. I love it. All right. So before we end it, actually, that actually inspired today's topic. All right. It's and inspired what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be discussing tomorrow. We're going to be discussing some politics. Wednesday, we're going to be discussing some politics. Thursday, we're going to be talking about the problem that comes with weak leadership. I might touch on a little bit of that stuff today, but just pretty much buckle up, put your chin strap on, or buckle up your seatbelts, because all week we're going to be doing a real deep dive on the problems that come up with weak leadership, the issues and the businesses that are lost and the families that are ruined and lives that are ruined because nobody set a firm set of principles, stuck to those principles, and they were more concerned with being liked as opposed to being respected. All right. That's what that's going to be the theme throughout the week. And it is stemming from what we're seeing in our government now that Trump is in office and things are getting done. Things are getting done. You know, stuff is being made out to the public. Myself, as a resident of Florida, I was super, super pumped to see that Byron Donalds is running for governor. So we're going to dive into all of that. All right. So let me just get through some announcements before I get going today. First and foremost, if you are in the West Palm Beach area and you are interested in free boxing lessons, simply hit that QR code that you see right there on the screen. I do them every 2 weeks. I'm a group leader at my church, life group life group leader at the church named Life Church, and I've been doing it for a couple of months now. We now starting to get things going. So if you're interested in doing that, it's every 2 weeks, 9 a.m. on Saturdays at a local park out here in West Palm Beach. All right. Next thing. If you are a business owner and you are struggling with turnover, and let me just give you a hint, most likely you are, all right, because there's not been a system in place like the one I've created that's making it so you have a staff and you have a group of people that are really, really cohesively working together and making things happen. All right. So if you are in that situation, I need you to head over to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That's freeguide.makeyourmove.com. I created this 10 bullet points, 10 things that you can use right now that'll make it so you can apply these principles, and you'll start to weed out the folks that want to be there and the folks that are just there for a check, or the ones that are really passionate, really believe in what they're doing. So make sure you tap into that as well. And finally, patreon.com/Aswand44. We have a membership base. We have a membership in which, wherever you are financially, there's something there for you, but it's a membership in which we build a group of people, a group of community that hold each other accountable and make it so you're staying on track with the kind of people you bring in. All right. So all that being said, let's get right into it today, man. Let's get into the Make Your Move kickoff question, and we're going to talk about the difference between being respected and being liked. All right. Now, first of all, let me just play. I'll play the initial Move Swiftly thought. I did a Move Swiftly thought on that this morning, and I'm going to play that, and then I'll also show you guys the article in which I just put out about this, in which has the definitions. We need to get a clear definition of being respected and being liked, and I'm going to tell you it's not as cut and dry. In fact, let me just let it play, and then we'll go from there. Let's get it. Aswan Cruikshank, one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork you will not get anywhere else. I know, my goodness, that sunrise, breathtaking. It's new sunrise, new day, new Monday, first Monday of March, which means it's a new Make Your Move Monday. We got a brand new Make Your Move Monday question, right into it. Would you rather be respected or liked? Say it again nice and slow in case you missed it, because it may seem like an easy answer. It may seem like something that you hear and it's like, oh, obviously I want to be respected. No. It's not that simple, because it's about action. The question is, would you rather be respected or liked? All right, that's what today's Make Your Move kickoff question is. For those of you who don't know, every single Monday over here in the Move Swiftly world, we have a kickoff question opposed to you guys thought-provoking question, something that's really kind of testing the waters in terms of what you want, what you're doing with your life, what are you doing with your money, what are you doing with your opportunity, what are you doing with the brand new day that God has given us, what are you doing with the brand new week that God has given us, what are you doing with the brand new moment, this moment that God has given us. And I close that question, and I also answer that question for me, and I tell you why, dive into it a little bit, and then later on in about an hour or so from this recording, I will be doing a live stream on it, breaking down the question and going into details about what's going on, just in case you're new around here in the Move Swiftly world. So I'll repeat the question again. Would you rather be respected or would you rather be liked? And the reason is a relevant question because we're officially 3 months in, about a quarter of the way through a new year. It's as fast as it goes, right? It goes by really, really fast. The question has to be posed. Do you want to be respected or be liked? And I'll dive deeper into this a little later, but the reason the question is so relevant is because we have a culture, we have a society, we have an environment, we have a way of thinking in which we're making our decision based on likes. All right, that like button on Facebook came out around the time I was in college, and it has evolved into not only just a like button, but an emoji button. You can just react. You don't have to communicate. You don't have to really do much of anything to get attention, to get people's attention, to be liked. And when you are liked, in some instances, it could lead to more money. It could lead to perceived security. It could lead to security in the moment. It could lead to a big sale. It could lead to a bulk order. It could lead to a relationship because the person likes you.
Now, when we're talking about, and then just so I'm clear, just so I'm wondering if I can answer the question, my answer to this question is obviously being respected. All right. When you're striving to be respected, the process of being respected, you will not be liked. All right. There will be a group of people who will never like you, and you have to be absolutely ecstatic about that. You have to be happy about that. You have to be incredibly grateful for those folks who, plain and simple, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, they have a worldview that conflicts with your worldview in terms of you want to be respected, you want to be known, you want to be admired because of your substance. You want to be admired because you're actually good at what you do, not because you've been fortunate enough to be in a situation where you're liked by the right person. You don't want to live like that. This is why the answer to the question I'm giving you, I would rather be respected. But again, I have to understand. I want to make sure I'm clear when I say this because it's so easy. It's so easy for a lot of people to look at that question and say, okay, yeah, I just said I want to be respected. No, it's not for everybody. I'm telling you right now, it's not for everybody because there has to be a genuine enjoyment that's coming from being disliked. There has to be a genuine enjoyment that's coming from being hated because that allows you to create the substance. That puts the substance in your mind. That gives you the stories. That gives you the opportunity. Gives you the way of looking at life into where you're never where you're going to be. You're never where, you never knew where you, quote unquote, want to be. Success is never a destination. It's simply the process, and you are falling in love with the process. That's the difference between being respected and liked. And like I said, I will dive deeper into how I got this. I'll dive deeper into the difference in a couple of minutes here on the live stream. Just tap in with me there. Do those Monday through Friday. And also the article is out as we speak on Medium. Respected or liked? Pose the question one more time. For those of you who didn't catch that, Make Your Move Monday kickoff question. Make Your Move Monday kickoff question. Would you rather be respected or would you rather be liked? My answer is respected because I want to be admired for my actual substance and because I'm actually accomplishing something. That's why I would prefer to be respected. So all that being said, main website to check out to dive deeper into everything I'm doing, makeyourmove.com.
All right, so let's digest that for a little bit, and then I'll play the article. But understand the worldview. All right, the worldview, and I'm going to get into. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you an example of how being liked might be good in the moment, might feel good in the moment, but it's going to lead to your business being lost. Going to lead to a lot of outcomes that you don't want to have happen. But the respected, when you have people, leaders out there who strive to be respected, there's a worldview that actually evolved and you push society forward. All right. You actually push society in a way in which we can get to a place where we're all working together, which we can get to a place where we have partnership. We have folks of different ethnicities, different backgrounds, different worldviews, different concepts, different likes and dislikes that can, work together and be civil with each other. And we could look out for each other, and we could be in a situation where there are folks who I'm telling you from experience, there's tons of people I don't like personally. I don't like that I have to work with every single day, and no one would actually, not one person in the entire building would know how much I dislike that person. I'm telling you right now, in my current situation, the current school I teach at, there's a ton of people that I dislike, and no one would know it because the minute I'm here to do my job as an educator, all of my personal stuff goes out the window. My personal dislikes and likes go out the window. And it's like, it's time to do a job. It's time to do a job. And it's time to earn respect from everyone, regardless of the likes and the dislikes. All right. So all that being said, let's get a full definition. Let's get a definition, because definitions are important here. A full definition of the word likes and dislike. All right. So I'll read up until, I'll read it. I'll read the, this is the article that came. This is the article that just got published today. And I will read, I'll read up to this part. I'll read it right until we get to being like, all right, I'll read it out loud to you guys. Okay. Welcome to the first Monday of March. No football, no analysis. All right, we'll go right into it. All right. So in my business, I take the teamwork lessons learned on the football field and apply them to businesses. The goal to create a staff. All right, you guys have already heard that. Okay. So today, the question to you, would you rather be respected or liked? Let's break it down. Respected. All right. To admire someone or something deeply as a result of their abilities and qualities and achievements. Liked. To find agreeable, enjoyable, and satisfactory. Seems simple enough. Think about it for a second. Before you answer, I want you to consider how the like button was introduced on Facebook. Check out this video. I'll play the video for you in a second. But in today's businesses, people are gauged because of the wording, all right, the wording of things. And let's say you have a product. Let's say you have a new service that you're offering, and you put it, what you would normally do, you would put it on Facebook or you put it on some social app, and you're basing the product on how many likes you can get. Let's say you have a media company and you're in the thought leadership world, or you're in the world where you're putting out shows or entertaining folks. You're gauging what you should do. You're gauging your success. You're gauging your pitch. You're putting together your package in which you try to sell to whoever you're trying to sell it to. You're gauging it based on how many likes you're getting. You're going to angel investors. You're going to people who can potentially buy your product and can potentially invest in your brand. And you're saying, I get 100 some odd likes an hour off this and that and the third. So the question isn't as easy as you think, because there's money involved. There's status involved. There's a sense of security, a false sense of security, or you can call it false, you can call it real. It depends on the person's situation. So when you think about being liked, there's a structure that you need to have in place in your mind before you even venture into that world. And what I'm explaining to you, let me just play it now. What I'm explaining to you is this button.
This is Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises built to meet any brief. Your project calls for bold creativity.
I'm gonna play it now. All right. So what happened is, before Facebook had this, and I'm old enough to remember that before Facebook had a like button. I'm old enough to remember before Facebook even started. All right. Before Facebook, it was MySpace and Black Planet and all that kind of stuff. And then Facebook came and it shrunk us. It shrunk us as a society. Whoever you were, wherever you were, you had the mindset, you had the worldview. If you didn't, then you developed the worldview in which you can get in touch with whoever you want. You didn't have to stay secluded. You didn't have to limit yourself to who you were dating and who you want to be with, your friends and all that. You didn't have to limit yourself to the people that you saw in person. That's what Facebook gave society. In my opinion, there's so much good that actually comes with that worldview. But nothing that happens in life, no advancement, no new thing that you can have, is just going to be all good. It's all about trade-offs. It's going to be a trade-off. So as great as Facebook may have been in terms of shrinking us and making us as a society be able to communicate efficiently, and some would argue maybe effectively, or be able to put out a business and, develop an audience and develop a following and all that, as good as Facebook is for that stuff, it opened the door for a lot of people to not communicate as well. The communication skills of individuals, especially if we're talking about face-to-face communication, and developing as speakers and developing a sense that you really cared about a person, you had empathy for a person. All of that stuff became harder and harder to gauge, because we had this social app that allowed us to look at a person's pictures, look at a person's life stories, and then decide right there within the 5 minutes or maybe the 2 or 3 minutes of seeing their pictures, and you were going to judge them based on that. In fact, I'll never forget, because now I came up as a football player, and I remember in college, when I first got my first Facebook account, it used to be me and my boys, and we're looking at women and we're trying to figure out what campus to go to that weekend. We sending like 30 or 40 messages a day, just saying what up. We was playing the numbers game, and again, but we were kids. We were little 18-year-old kids in college, just being stupid, which it just tends to happen. But I'll never forget, actually, It was when I was in the working world. And I personally, as a teacher, as an educator, most of the people I work with are females, right? So they had a situation where I was working with a female, and there was a guy who dropped his son off, and the woman that I was working with, the teacher I was working with, found this guy very attractive, right? So he drops his son off, and as soon as he drops his son off and he leaves, my colleague, the teacher I was working with, looks the guy up on Facebook, gets his name, gets his number, gets at his entire story, sees if he's with the mother, sees what he does for a living. Just runs through his entire Facebook resume. And I'm sitting there, because now it's like I'm in the working world. I'm not in college at this point. I'm like, what the crazy. It's crazy. And what happened, and I'll let the video play. The video is only about a minute long, is this Facebook like button. It made it so you don't actually even have to communicate. You don't even actually have to say, you don't even have to type in a comment to say that's a good thing or this, that, and the third. You can simply hit a like button, and that is some people's form of payment. And in fact, if you're really a public figure, if you're really huge, if you just like a certain tweet that somebody put out there, you got people doing segments about it and talking about it. I remember just last week, I think it was, where I think Stephen A. might have liked some tweet from Trump or some Republican, and all of a sudden there was a huge segment about it. I'm like, this is out of control. So this is why I'm telling you, this is why this question is important to pose today, is because it is so easy to go down that route. It's so easy to answer the question in a quick way and say, oh, I want to be respected. I want to be respected. You hear that all the time. You hear people say it all the time. I want to be respected. As soon as you hear that, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm trying to be respected. All right, we'll see. We'll see, because when you consider that likes are associated with some money, likes are associated now with status, having enough likes and having enough hearts on your post and all that other nonsense that may not be nonsense, but all the other stuff, the vanity metrics that a lot of us chase. When you start seeing stuff like that, your tone starts to change a little bit, right? Your tune changes, so to speak, because you might walk around and say, okay, yeah, I want to be respected, but then somebody comes and offers you a deal to say, look, if you get 1,000 likes on this post, then I'll cut you in on some of the sales, or I'll cut you in on whatever it makes over the span of time. Now all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe I want to be liked. I want to be liked, right? And forget about the whole being respected thing. This is why it's important to really ask yourself this question. What exactly do you want to be? Do you want to be respected, or do you want to be liked? I'm going to continue to repeat myself here. And then as we get into the details as we really ask ourselves these questions, you got to gauge it, man. You got to gauge it situation by situation by situation by situation, understanding what your principles are, understanding what exactly you are trying to represent, understanding who exactly you want to become. That's the important part.
The history of the Facebook like button. You've seen it, you've clicked it. I'm talking about the little like button on Facebook pages and posts. The icon with the tiny thumbs up symbol that shows you approve of what's there. But have you ever wondered why there's a like button at all? Here's a little history lesson for you. Back in 2007, several Facebook employees were working.
2007. Now, just for some context here, so I'll qualify myself here and qualify my age myself a little bit, is 2007 is the year I graduated high school. All right. And like I was explaining to you guys before, hold on, let me just make sure. All right. So 2007, I graduated high school in 2007. And this is when it became invented. I didn't create my first Facebook account. I didn't create it until I actually got to college. This is the context in which I'm giving you here, because I saw society change with this thumbs up button. And now it has evolved into something that's off of Facebook. It's evolved into something in which you can send a text to somebody, and instead of actually responding to the text, you can hit the little like button, and all of a sudden it's the response or whatever. You don't actually have to communicate. All right. So that's just some context. I'll let them keep cooking.
On a project codenamed Props. They debated several ideas for commenting and approving on posts, including star ratings and plus and minus signs. When they finally settled on the thumbs up symbol, they They wanted to call it the awesome button, but Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg didn't like it. So they changed it to like, which is like already one of the most used words by the X, Y, and millennial generations. Another fact, the like button has earned Facebook billions of dollars. Because once you like a product on Facebook, they can guarantee a company that they can place their ads where they'll be seen by someone who's already interested in that product.
We talking about some money now. We talking about some money now. There's a couple words that got said in there that I got to address because it is so connected. All right, it's so connected to what we teach our kids and the natural human nature in which we push our kids towards wanting to become. And as adults, as I just explained to you guys, a lot of adults don't have an opportunity to grow out of it, nor do they know how to grow out of it because many people weren't growing up in a structured environment. All right. They said it started because of what? Approval. They were looking for approval. When you post something, you want somebody's approval. You want there to be, okay, I'm doing this and I'm looking for approval every step of the way. And you're looking for acceptance. All right. So when you have a business, you're not even necessarily caring too much about the principles or the ethics of the business. Do people like it? Are people going to like it? And now can I attach a price to it? And all of a sudden I'm calling myself an entrepreneur. All of a sudden I'm calling myself major in business or a big business tycoon because I have a certain amount of likes. That is the direction that is naturally moving. In fact, even now that I'm thinking about those college days, I remember, being around it and posting something. And this is when me and my college 18-year-old version of As One, which is a different version of As One than you see today. I mean, not totally different mindset wise, worldview wise. Obviously, I've grown up, but I still have some of the tendencies of, the way I used to think back then. Obviously, a little more mature in terms of how I conduct myself and conduct my business and all that. But that's another conversation for another day. I remember actually posting something with some of my college roommates back then. And the person that I posted this stuff with, I remember him messaging me saying, these people are pretending like they don't like our pictures. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They don't like our pictures. He goes, oh, we're not getting enough comments. We're not getting enough likes. We're not getting enough. It's limited likes and stuff like that. And then I realized there was something off about it because instead of, posting because you actually believe in the stuff you're posting and hoping that you're getting a certain amount of likes so you can get this shot of a dopamine hit and feel what they say, you feel the approval. You feel the approval of people you feel the approval of perceived and convinced friends. And so that was my freshman year of college. By the time I got to be a senior in college, I had the professor, Jorge Ferran, who I did an independent study with, and he broke it down. And I did an independent study, but I also took his class for a Foundations of Education class. And he said this like just out of the blue because he was giving a lecture like I'm giving now. He was just kind of talking to us and explaining to us a concept. And he goes, see, with the Facebook generation, they wanted you guys to believe that it's possible to have over 100 friends. So they call it friends. And then they call it now likes. Like he said, they're playing with the psychology and where the approval comes from. All right. That's the issue. So let me go back a little bit because I might have went on a tangent there. Let me go back a little bit so you guys catch this.
Which is like already one of the most used words by the X, Y, like it. So they changed it to like, which is like already one of the most used words by the X, Y, and millennial generations. Another fact, the like button has earned Facebook billions of dollars.
Billions with a B.
Once you like a product on Facebook, they can guarantee a company that they can place their ads where they'll be seen by someone who's already interested in that product or something just like it. Want some more like button trivia? Rapper Eminem is the most liked person on Facebook with more than 52 million likes, and he's closely followed by Rihanna and Lady Gaga.
8 years ago. This is 8 years ago, guys. 8 years ago. It's a long time.
Facebook doesn't publicly release stats on just how popular the button is, but according to the independent blog Business, Facebook, more than 113 million pages are liked per hour.
I mean, those are absolutely staggering numbers. Staggering numbers. All right. Billions of likes, millions of likes per hour. So the word, the culture, the follow culture, everyone, and that was 8 years ago. This was around the time Twitter created the follow button, right? So now you're looking for how many followers you got. You're looking for likes. Everybody want to click follow. Everybody's just clicking the like button day in and day out, over and over and over and over and over again. And what starts to happen is you start to move in a direction that you were already moving in, a direction that you were already naturally inclined to feel, where you want to be liked. Let me show you real quick what I put in the article, because I didn't even finish reading it because I went off on a tangent there. But what I put in the article, and you guys can read it on my Medium account, is think about it. Think about how much of today's business, relationships, and decision-making are influenced by likes. Oh, I like that product. I liked this Apple. I liked this, right? I liked a lot of the things I'm looking at right here. I like that thing. I'll take out my money and I'll buy it. Oh, I like that person. You like that significant other. You like that person that you may or may not still be with. So let's have sex. Or I like that person because of the job, the feeling that I got when I met them in so-and-so event. All right. And I can give them a job. I'm going to call them and say, this job open up. So here, you want a job? You want to be in my company? Everything is influenced by liked. But here it is right here. I'm going to show you right here. But being respected, completely different ball game. Completely different ball game, man. It is a completely different element. It's a completely different worldview. It's a completely different set of circumstances that you will allow you to be respected. All right. Being respected actually requires that you're good. I'm telling you, it requires that you're. Not to say that the folks out there who chase likes or are liked aren't good at what they do. There's tons of people who I actually do believe are good at what they do. But there was a respect factor that was built in to them that made it so they were liked over a period of time. It's like my ex in high school for 2 years. I'll tell you the story real quick. For 2 years, my high school sweetheart, my high school girlfriend, she did not like me for 2 years. Okay, that was 2 years of me chasing her. By the time I actually convinced her, or she came back, what happened was I actually started ignoring her, and then she reached back out to me because, stuff happened with the guy that she thought she liked, but she really actually respected as one, right? There was the reason it lasted so long. I was with her for all my years of high school, for 4 years of high school. And the reason there was a respect factor there is because I wasn't liked initially. All right, you're not gonna be liked initially. There's a respect factor that is built in, that you have got to have built in over time. And when you study that principle, when you accept that fact, you not being liked by certain folks is almost a sign of positivity. It's almost a sign, it becomes a sign of, man, I must be doing something right. I must be doing something right. That means there is something I'm doing the right way if folks do not like me. There's something I'm doing. There's a method. There's a thing I have in me. There's a goal. There's a strategy. There's something in place that I have when I'm not liked. And you need to embrace that. You need to embrace that. Don't run from that. You need to embrace that. When you embrace that, the reward on the back end, the long-term rewards are going to be absolutely unbelievable, absolutely prosperity, blissful, absolutely blissful when you think about the rewards on the back end and the way you can continue to build substance and build substance and build substance and build substance. That should be the goal. And again, I'm not going to simplify it for you. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you it's easy. You have to fight human nature, but at the same time, it's absolutely rewarding. Absolutely rewarding. So let's get a definition. of the word respected. I'm going to repeat it. to admire someone or something deeply as a result of their abilities, qualities, or achievements. That is what should be that should be the goal. All right, so let me break this down, because as a football guy, this is actually when I first experienced this on my own. As a football guy, as a football player, having been a captain on multiple championship teams, having spent time as a scout, having spent time as an actual high school football coach, being involved in watching the games, which, by the way, you guys got to go subscribe to Film Session Saturday. We breaking down film. I'm working towards becoming a play-by-play announcer for some college games, and every Saturday I do a college game breakdown. This last week of this recording, I did the Texas versus Georgia game, the first one. I'll be finishing up that game going into this week, so make sure you guys check it out. It's called Film Session Saturday. All right. So, but anyway, back to the game of football. All right. I remember being a captain on these teams. I remember actually having a coach, and this wasn't just me. Obviously, as a captain, you have to follow what your coach says. You have to get behind the message that your coach is putting out there. Remember, our coach would constantly show he believed in us, because he wasn't afraid of who he offended. He was not afraid. More in particular, Coach Brian, who I've been on record saying is my favorite coach to have ever played for, because he was never afraid of putting it out there and offending anybody and telling us and them that we'll kick your ass. We will kick your ass. And I'll give you a quick story. I didn't plan on telling this story, so just bear with me. Just bear with me, because this is what I mean when I say being respected. There's a difference. In fact, I'll tell, instead of, there was a story I was going to tell, I'll tell them both, because you guys, if you know me, I can get into these football stories, man, and we can go. I can talk hours upon hours, just giving you football story after football story after football story. So two quick stories about what being respected looks like, and the long-term rewards of being respected. All right. So it was the first two seasons where I had Coach Brian Davis. All right. Coach Brian Davis, who, again, been on the record saying that is my favorite coach that I've ever played for. I think about the principles and the things that he instilled in us as young men every single day that I'm around my students now, as I teach now, as I work towards in my working in the education world. I think about his philosophy probably the most of any coach that I've ever had. Right. So he came in, it was a year after we lost. I lost my coach. Oh, it wasn't just me, but we lost our coach, Coach Art. We lost him to, it was a tragic event where we watched our coach pass away on the field. So he comes in the next year. Coach Brian comes in the next year. And the first thing, now go back to that year before, the team to beat was a team named Montgomery Village, the Montgomery Village Chiefs. We lost to them in the championship. So I remember Coach Brian coming in the next year, and he told us, look, don't be thinking that just because Montgomery Village won it last year that they're the team to beat. All right. So the team to beat that year was a team named the Olney Bears. Now, the Olney Bears, there was a reputation amongst the folks that lived in Olney that they were a little more of an affluent neighborhood, that they had the money, yada, yada, yada. That was just kind of the talk around the area of Maryland, with the Montgomery County area of Maryland that I grew up in. Most of those kids, they went to Sherwood, which was up county, and all that kind of stuff. Again, another conversation for another day. But anyway, Olney was a damn good team. We'll just say it like that. They were damn good. They were good. And they won the first year. My first year with Coach Bryant, they beat us twice. They beat us in the regular season, and then they went on and beat us in the championship. Now, the next year, completely different ball game, right? We were ready. We knew what we were in for, and we were the better team. The thing is, that year, Olney actually they were suspended from the playoffs because apparently, I guess, they got caught with practicing off season or some nonsense like that, some political bullshit that went down to where they couldn't compete in the compete in the playoffs because of something that happened in the off season. Again, I grew up in Maryland. This is where the politics come in, and all that kind of stuff. So all of that went down, and long story short, Olney couldn't compete in the playoffs, but they still had pretty much the same team but they were going to compete throughout the regular season. And, the game between us versus Olney was a big deal. That was a championship type game because all year, you got to think Coach Bryant now had a year with us, and the next year he comes in and he's doing a lot of talking. Like I'm talking about Super Bowl to the point where we got our jerseys. We got our jerseys that year, and the head of the entire organization, I think it was James White, if I'm not mistaken, or Coach Cyrus, it was either Cyrus or James White. At that point, he announced to everybody, he goes, look, this 85-pound team is supposed to be the first team to bring us a Super Bowl. A Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl was the teams from DC, Northern Virginia, and us. And it was called the Capital Beltway League. So we were expected to bring the Brick Cheney White Oak Warriors our first Super Bowl. And again, the team we lost to a year ago, Olney, they can't play in the playoffs. So that regular season game, when you play Olney, the team that beat us last year, it was mother effing lit, boy. It was lit. You see, this is that new slang. It was lit. I mean, to the point where they thought about making our game like the late night game so they could sell more hot dogs. No, I think, the later game so they could sell more hot dogs, more people could show up. It was absolutely lit because they knew the bad blood and all that kind of stuff, right? So long story short, we beat their ass up and down Jackson Road. And I mean, it was personal. I will never forget that game. Because that's when there was no pass play. They had the better quarterback. Obviously, they had Deontay Twyman and they had all the passing game. This is youth football. Where you don't need no pass game in youth football. You just need to have some dogs up front and just ISO left, ISO right. ISO left, ISO right. Pound that rock, boy. Pound that rock. The winners in the youth football game are going to be the ones that could just pound that rock. So this is why, again, I'm still to this day a absolutely psychotic Michigan fan because we used to wear the Michigan colors, and the way we won games was the way Michigan won that national championship. Smash, boy! Boom, 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 all day, and that's how we beat all these guys that afternoon, right? So. Anyway, so it was after the game, and when I'm not mistaken, the score we blew them out. We beat them convincingly, right? And Coach Bryant grabs all of us. He sees us celebrating, and he grabs all of us. He goes, "This was supposed to happen. This was supposed to happen." All year they've been talking about how they kicked your ass a year ago. And then as we're walking by the Olney sideline, so they're seeing this black man with us. And he's on some, how y'all feel? We on fire? How y'all feel? And he's doing it in front of the Olney sideline, not caring at all who he offended. You see how excited I got when I talked about that? That's the difference of being respected. He didn't care who didn't like how he went. He didn't care about, Olney people may not like me. I might not be able to get a job, but no, it was about being respected. Okay, it was about being respected, and that's what lasts. That's what gives you those long-term success. All right, that's story number one. And here's the one. And so another story on being respected and why it's important if you're talking about wanting to have success over the long term. So played again. I was, I'm going to say 7th grade, and then I went through high school, and that's a lot of stories in itself that I could tell. But I want to push back to what I was talking about in terms of being an 18-year-old kid in college. This is back when when I first graduated from high school. I went to a college named Carson Newman College in East Jefferson City, Tennessee. It was a Division II program that was, it had to be God. It just had to be. There was no other explanation as to how much I took from those 2 semesters of playing, of being a part of a college program. All right. Nothing else but God's grace, because although I was at a Division II program, I was 7 hours away from home. The only other person I knew who was from Maryland, he had gotten kicked out because, he was being an idiot and he got into a fight and, a bunch of drama that I didn't even feel like bringing back up. But as a linebacker, I had Coach Torbush as my linebackers coach, the late Coach Torbush as my linebackers coach. And also we had Ken Sparks, the late Ken Sparks, who anybody that's been around him knows the faith-based program that he runs, how he is continuously always using the game of football to introduce young men to the Bible, introduce young men to the Word of God, and, drawing those comparisons. That's what I was able to be a part of my freshman year, right? So I remember that summer I was there throughout the entire summer. I was at Carson Newman College in East Jefferson City, Tennessee, just trying to get acclimated. I was eager to get out to college. I was one of those kids that was eager to get to work, eager to, put in my work and start college football because of the type of programs that I previously played for. I understood the importance of committing. I understood the importance of, being there, showing, taking initiative, making the show. Coaches, I was that player. Like, wherever you need me, coach, let's do this. Wherever you want me to be, let's go. Let's go. That was my mentality. It still is my mentality to this day. This is why I said there's certain things I still have in me as a grown-ass man that I had when I was 17, 18-year-old kid, right? So that summer, in order to actually compete and play in the college football game, they do this in the pros as well, is they have something called a conditioning test, right? So being that I was there in the summer, we were given the opportunity, the football players who were there in the summer were given the opportunity to do our conditioning test that summer. So by the time we came back early, we were able to do the conditioning test in August. So by the time the other players got in here, No. So July. It was late July. So we had the opportunity to do the conditioning test in July. So by the time the other players got in, like the regular other football players got in August for camp, they reported for camp. They were going to do the conditioning test, and we already had it done because we already did it throughout the summer workout. So I was part of that summer crew that passed his conditioning test for for that fall. Right now, when everybody got to camp in August and it was time to do the conditioning test for everybody, I thought I was good. I didn't go. I was in my room, playing video games, chilling, and I didn't go because I thought I was all good. So I, slept in and all that kind of stuff. So my roommate comes in, he goes, we had practice. Like, we didn't just do the conditioning test. We actually had practice. So I had missed that first practice. I'm like, oh, damn, I didn't know about that. My bad. But again, I'm a freshman. I'm incoming freshman from Maryland. Everybody really checking for me like that. And everyone, I pretty much expected all of us to redshirt as it is. But again, I had Coach Torbush. All right, one of the legends. You can go look him up, Coach Carl Torbush, the late Coach Carl Torbush, who's one of the legends in the college football world. In fact, I have it. I actually wrote about him. I have it right here. I'll show you. I'll show you in 2 seconds. It is this guy right here. You see him? That guy. I had that guy as a linebackers coach. And even though I'm thinking, he's not going to remember me. Remember, I'm a freshman. Only time I met him saw him last night, and I saw him on my visit. But he's not going to remember me seeing that, even though I missed it. It just won't happen, right? So we get the practice because it's a two-a-day. This is the summer, so it's 2-a-days. So we had that practice in the morning. They had that practice in the morning that I missed. And then we get to the afternoon practice, and we're stretching, and he looks at me. He looks at me with this guy. He had his shades on like this. He looks at me. He goes, "Hey, you didn't happen to miss this morning, did you?" I was like, nah, because the conditioning, I was sounding just like that. So I'm like, because I had, passed the conditioning test and and he looks at me like, he had his glasses on. But he looked at me, he goes, "Man, you get your ass here in the morning." They weren't allowed to go. He goes, you better get your butt here in the morning. So even though I passed the conditioning test, I still had to wake up every morning before practice started, before these 3-a-days started, and do extra running and all that kind of stuff. And I'm telling you this for a reason, because what you see right there on the screen, that's the difference between being respected and liked. Nowadays, I run every single morning. I can't even start my day without a run in the morning during that hour. And I respect the hell out of him. I absolutely respect him now because he made me do that. And it built up a mindset. It built up a worldview. It changed my worldview. All right. It changed my worldview. Before that day, before that moment, my worldview was that running in the morning was punishment. Now that worldview obviously is completely changed, and it has evolved to the point where now I choose to run every single morning, as you guys can see, as there's proof all over the internet with that. That is what being respected is all about. Now, let me just, because I spoke about how being respected is beneficial, now I have to talk about the consequences and the trade-offs and the issues if you are moving in this situation or moving in a place where you're trying to be liked. All right. So my previous place of employment, or the longest other outside of this school, the longest time I've actually held a job was at a gym named 9 Round Kickboxing and Fitness, 9 Round Plantation. And actually it was crazy because it was meant to just be a part-time job, but because I was also working for the Dolphins and, I was able to develop, this is where this book came from as a boxing trainer. In fact, I have it, talk about it here. This was Make Your Move, all the years as a boxing trainer. That's what this was all about. So that's where this came from, by the way. And we'll get into the Wintrepreneur concept and all that as we go later on in the week. But anyway, I knew that this gym, the gym currently is out of business. All right. They went out of business maybe about a year ago now. And it went out of business because the owner of this gym was more so interested in being liked. He had the idea, he had the concept, he believed that being liked was going to be something. In my opinion, he honestly fell into the trap. All right. He fell into the trap that Facebook created and thought that being liked was going to lead to being paid or lead to a positive outcome, a positive long-term outcome. He thought being liked was going to be something that made it so you had positive outcomes and positive businesses, made it so something was going to happen that was going to actually help his business. He was completely wrong. And I'll tell you the story and then I'll close you guys out. There was a young lady that would come into the gym, and I won't put anybody's name out there, but the young lady who came into the gym pretty much every single morning. She and I shared a birthday, actually. She's also born January 8th. So if you knew me back then, now you actually know exactly what I'm talking about, right? And by the way, I just saw the other day she posted something. She got a little bun in the oven. So congrats to you if you are listening. Definitely happy for you. Definitely well deserved. And the kid definitely has a great mother. She's a fantastic young lady, goal oriented, went to Florida State, the whole thing. Really, we became actually friends. Actually, one time we did one Thanksgiving, I remember it was me, her, and her, I guess it's her husband now, but it was her boyfriend at the time. We did a session at Yoga Joint, and it was real cool, real cool girl, right? The issue now is that she was in her 20s and this owner was in his 60s, and he was kind of getting a little too friendly. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to say it like that. I said it in the most politically correct way I possibly can. The owner was getting a little too friendly with this 27-year-old girl who was clearly in a committed relationship. And when I say friendly, I mean, this wasn't just a one-time thing. This was every single morning. He'd stop her and, give her a hug before, as she was working out and all that kind of stuff. Like, he was getting a little, again, if I'm her man, I would have had an issue with some of the ways this owner was looking at my lady now. Now, obviously she's not, I just have to kind of just play the field and just sort of peep game and all that. But I'm like, yo, I'm just putting it out there. Just put it out there. So anyway, there was a situation in which I guess she lost her gloves, or she couldn't find her boxing gloves. When you become a member at 9 Round, we provide the boxing gloves. So she was one of those old school members, like was there before I even started training, became a trainer there. And she was using these like old gloves that just weren't working, and you don't, as you really get into boxing training and stuff like that, you don't want your gloves to rust because it can really damage your knuckles and all that. You want your gloves to be fresh. So obviously every couple, maybe about a year or so, or maybe even less than that, maybe a couple months, you should probably replace them or get some new ones, get some ones that really are going to protect your knuckles, right? So as she was coming in, or something happens, you may lose the ones that you have, right? So she was coming in with these older gloves, and we noticed, but again, I'm didn't say anything. It's just like, look, at least you're here and doing your thing. So I remember one time as she was leaving, the owner, I almost said his name there, but I won't do that. But the owner of this 9 round, he goes and he hands her some free gloves. No charge, nothing. Just gives her the free gloves. This girl, again, when COVID happened and, everyone was all over the place and people were trying to figure things out, she canceled. She didn't stay loyal. She canceled her membership. And just even though he was liked in that moment, and giving someone free gloves, it didn't lead to any real respect. Obviously not enough respect for someone to actually pay the membership and keep their membership in a place that you've been so dedicated and so loyal to coming to for so long. That's the issue. And that right there is why that business is no longer in business. So I challenge you guys today, man. I know I said a lot. I actually brought up certain things that I didn't even plan on bringing up, but that's what you do when you're in the speaking world, the thought leadership world, when you're really speaking from the soul, speaking from the heart, is that when you think about the question today, when you think about how you're going to fight it, because it's obvious, it's so easy to say it. It's so easy to say, I want to be respected, but it is not easy. It's not easy. It's not an easy process, because the process of being respected means you're going to lose money. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose a lot of things. You're going to feel like you're losing out on things that you should be doing, you should be having. But you have to develop a walk of faith that makes it so you can have the goal. You can continuously have the possibility in your mind to keep going day in and day out, regardless of who likes or dislikes whatever it is you do. All right. You have got to block that out. However you're going to do it, whatever it is you got to do, you got to block out the likes and dislikes and figure out, am I standing on my principles, and am I making it so these vanity metrics and these things that the world is going to continuously push on me, am I ready for that moment? And that's really the question. And that's why I posted today. So all that being said, main website to check out. Well, first of all, let me just put this up real quick. Don't forget to tap in with me on the Patreon link, patreon.com/as144. We have a membership, and also main website, though, the main thing to dive into, the main thing to check out, to dive deeper into everything I'm doing, to makeyourmove.com, one-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As you can see here, you can shop there, you can join the Patreon, you can book me to speak, you can learn more about me, you can listen to the podcast that comes out every single day, new episodes that come out every single day, the Move Swiftly podcast, all is there on your one-stop shop for all your needs, innovative, teamwork wise, and leadership wise, and self-development wise. All right. Again, As1 Cruikshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.